Hello and welcome to ET Energy World. I am Sudhir and you're watching the Energy TV. Our guest for today's episode is a very special man. He's Ashish Khanna. He's the president of Renewables at Tata Power and the MD and CEO of Tata Power Solar. Very warm welcome to you on our platform, Ashish.
Thank you.
Let me begin this discussion by asking you, as a professional or as a senior and respected industry player, what has been your journey like? And, if you could tell us the main highlights of, your own growth as a leader.
I have been a typical engineer when I graduate and then did a master's in management. So it was very typical at my times to choose those professions. Either you have been a doctor or an architect or engineer. So I chose to be an engineer and then did the master's and then realized that I have to work in the industry. So I joined in the industry at various firms, started from a private company to a public sector company to a multinationals, and have worked in India as well as outside. Around 12 years back, I joined Tata. So most of my career has been in the project phase and have the distinction of working in oil and gas, pipelines, mineral metals across various forms of infrastructure, and from the last 5 years in renewables in particular. And it has been very interesting. Each and every phase has been very interesting. So I have seen across how the infrastructure was not the best baby of India for some times and how IT was everywhere. But then I have also seen a phase where infrastructure has come up in India and was always there outside the India too. I think the significant part was while in India to work at it at various forums gives you the experience, but when you go abroad and work at an international forum, especially in US when I used to work, it gives a very different dimensions on how the business works. While the criteria and the fundamental remain same, how the focus changes, how the value systems are so important, how the processes plays an important role when you are scaling up in business. And then when you join Tata's, you come across a very different values.
Okay. Ashish, because we're talking about this topic, I wanted to ask you, there is a lot that is often said about how things are different culture-wise in the Tata Group. What has been your experience like? If you can share it for our audience.
I think the emotional content, the value system, the ethical base, and you are dealing only with the professionals. Then there is an emotional content. You are always looking at a community around you. You like to be a partner of choice. You like to be a part of a community and serving the community while doing a business. And doing business is also very important.
Talking about the company itself, Tata Power Solar is a big name in the entire renewable energy industry, and you are heading that entire portfolio. Can you brief us on what is the company all about? What are the different product segments it's present in? What is the larger philosophy that you work with? And what has been the growth of the company like so far?
It's a company which is now 3 decades old, and being a part of a company which is 104-year-old. So we have history and we have sustained this. Earlier, this company was predominantly a manufacturing company. We were a joint venture with British Petroleum and it used to be called Tata BP. So the whole focus was on manufacturing products, have a quality system, and virtually your JV partner was your 100% off-taker too. So, and for a British Petroleum, this was nothing. So the quality of the products were most important thing. So we used to actually invest only on making the best quality products. And we started manufacturing in this country in 1989. Most of the Chinese were also not in existence. And virtually 100% of the offtake at any given time was with British Petroleum at their offshore platforms. So the whole focus was towards bringing the best of the quality products. We always guaranteed for 25 years, but we used to make products and still make products which can last much, much beyond it. In 2012, the British Petroleum decided to come out of all the terrestrial business after the famous oil leak, and then we were on our own. So we started venturing into various areas from 2012 onwards. However, we realized that not much is where we are very successful. And then in 2014-15, we re-strategized. I think we took a difficult decision of coming out of certain businesses. You know, if you ask me for a business leader, you sometimes carry a baggage that why can't I do better? Even if I am not doing better, why not I do better in life and in the business? So I think we took certain strategic decisions of coming out of those businesses where we were not doing well, and and then focus towards the EPC with our strong backbone of manufacturing. And that was a turning point, I think, in our history in the last 5 years, with the result that in last 4 years, we have grown more than 400%.
So manufacturing continued, manufacturing of panels and cells, and in addition to that, we entered into EPC of let's say
utility scale
utility
projects,
scale.
of rooftops,
rooftops.
and the agriculture pumps too, of the solar pumps. And if you ask me today, I think in India we are one of the top EPC contractor on utility scale projects. We have executed more than 2 gigawatt of project, as we say, for the third parties. On the rooftop, we have been acclaimed as #1 EPC player for many years. And in the pump market too, we are among the top players too. So these are the 3 fields. As well as manufacturing is concerned, we primarily export our products or use it for in-house basis in the last 3-4 years.
But we are not into development, right? We are not a developer as such.
Tata Power Solar is not a developer, but Tata Power, where I'm a president, we are a developer too.
And you bid for projects?
We bid for projects. We are in wind, more than 1 gigawatt of wind. And as we speak, we have more than 2.6 gigawatt of total renewable portfolio in India, and more than 500 megawatt in pipeline too.
Because we're talking about manufacturing, and we have seen, in the past year or so, there has been a lot of talk about duties. There's a need to safeguard the domestic industry. That duty came into place, and currently there's a view that, some people argue that that duty may not have worked the way it was expected. From how do you look at the entire thing? What is your view?
You have to appreciate the fact that when you are in a manufacturing industry, it is a 25-year commitment. It's not a transaction. And then the scale matters, that what are you getting. The other part in this particular industry, unlike say automobile or many others, even oil and gas, the technology changes very fast. So you not only have to keep on investing, you also have to keep on investing into the new technologies. What happened is that when India started this solar journey, I would say predominantly in 2014-15, when we were hardly 4 gigawatt, and now we are reaching around 28 and more, and the government has a mandate to make it to 100 gigawatt by 2022, we started importing more than what was our investment in the in-house manufacturing. It helps us to lower the tariffs, but I think it also then have an outflow of a foreign exchange. It also has an outflow of a technology which we should have invested within the country. However, Tata Power Solar has been in the industry for quite some time. The way the safeguard duty has come somehow has not helped, because in the short period, all those projects which were bid before this imposition of the safeguard duty has a pass-through in it. And generally a project takes 18 to 21 months to build. So if you have a pass-through, then all those who have built the projects or who have bid the projects prior to the imposition of the safeguard duty, it doesn't matter to them whether safeguard is there or not. In fact, if they have to buy from Indian manufacturers, they won't get the advantage of a pass-through. So which is going contrary to, rather than helping, but taking it away from the Indian manufacturers. And those who have bid the projects in this safeguard duty are predominantly looking at procuring modules after the regime of the safeguard duty. The current regime of the safeguard duty is over. So in this interim period, it has not benefited. And I don't think so that safeguard is the only way which can help us. I think when you're looking for investing in manufacturing, there is a lot of infrastructure as well as other fiscal benefit. You have to give it to the industry. You have to invest in the industry rather than just protecting it from the ring fenced.
From the government's point of view, if not duty, what are the top 2 or 3 things that the government can do to ensure that a domestic manufacturing base increases in line with the kind of aspirations that we have?
I think I won't say that it should not be duty. I think duty is definitely required, because you have to ring fence. You see, you have to look at some of the statistics. The panels which are coming to India compared to anywhere else are the cheapest. You can look at it. The same manufacturer from China is exporting to Japan at a very different cost level than what is coming to India. So there is a strategy of a price sensitivity when things are coming to India. So you are competing with manufacturers whose scales are very different. they are at a very different scale. The second part is that the whole infrastructure around manufacturing, it's not only cell and modules, you have glass, you have so many components which goes into it. You have a cost of power which is very important in this manufacturing. There is a lot of subsidies or incentive given on this infrastructure again to the industry outside, where there is a protectionism and also then there is an incentive to grow more. While safeguard duty is very important to ring fence us, I think those sort of incentives
Are equally important.
are equally important.
So you're basically saying that the government must focus on all of these things simultaneously,
You have to
including
focus on all these
duty,
things
incentives.
simultaneously. I also feel that
Do you see that happening?
I hope it will happen. I think they are seriously considering other factors too. I also feel that we don't need to deal with the current technologies itself. What is required for India is very critical. So let's look at what is required for India as a solarization if you ask for it. You have currently modules which are used in a utility scale projects. Fair enough, that is one usage. You also have rooftop requirement in this country. There are still millions of people without a grid connections and there are millions and millions of them. You have a solution of a rooftop. But what we are doing today is that we are using the same product, whether it is for use rooftop or it is for utility scale projects. There are technologies available currently which are slightly expensive, but can be immense use at rooftop. So while we are today trying to compete as an industry with, say, China, which has 125 gigawatt of capacity, the scale also matters. Why do we need to compete only at that turf? We can also compete and government can incentivize those technologies, which in the next 2-3 years can be a game changer, where India can be the exporter not only for in-house use, for rooftop. Today in the 100 gigawatt, 40 gigawatt is coming from rooftop. Can we not have technologies, and they are available, where we have less, I would say, malleable panels, where weight is much less, because if you look at our roofs are different, our requirements are different than the Western world. So today we are cookie cutting it. We are using the same panels for our roofs, and so my intention is that if government, what they are doing is very good, but if they can also incentivize those R&Ds and those products which can be used particularly for specific requirements for this country, it would be a great help. And those technologies then we can leapfrog ahead of our neighbors too.
Because we are talking about rooftop, out of 140 target is rooftop, and there is a view that the pace at which it is growing, so that pace has increased in the past few years, but overall it's slow, right? And we may not be able to go closer to the target. That there's a view like that. Now, apart from this thing about technology that you just said, that we need specifically tailored maybe products or tech, what are the other things that the government can do to ensure that the pace of rooftop, addition of rooftop solar power capacity also grows significantly?
See, at the end of the day, if you look at what is the business of rooftop, fundamentally, we are using roofs, and so from a consumer, you are becoming a prosumer. You are a producer as well as a consumer, but you are an existing consumer too, and you are a valued consumer from a distribution company. All those who are having rooftops on their top are the most valued consumers. So in a way, if you look at it, you are taking away certain consumers from a distribution company, which otherwise are not doing very great in many parts of this country. I think the government need to find a win-win solution for both, where the distribution companies as well as the rooftop developers coexist and help each other, rather than taking the business away or fighting for the same pie. I think that is one of the reasons which is required. The other part which is also very critical is there is so much of regulations which are there currently. And what we are doing is that India has a very inverted tariff system. The residential part is subsidized by the commercial and industrial. So if you look at the deployment of rooftops today, in fact, our business is also maximum at the commercial and industrial segment, because there the tariffs are high. And you can have a payback in 5 to 7 years itself, and then you have a free power. Then you can always sign a power purchase agreements with them at a price which is lower than the tariff which they are getting it across. So it's a win-win for both of us. However, in a consumer segment, it is not as win-win as it should be. The good thing which is happening of late is that to advance manufacturing, Government has come up with the solution that where they are giving subsidy, it will be only made in India cells and modules. It's one part of it. But the other part is also we have to see what is the quality of the product which is going in rooftop. I think there are a lot of factors which needs tangible, non-tangible, which needs to be addressed by the government, and then it will be a game changer.
Okay. Ashish, talking about utility scale projects, and you're a big player there also. So there's a view that there's a slowdown in the market, right? There is some kind of a consolidation that is happening in the entire industry, and all of this is coming on the backdrop of reports that tenders are getting cancelled, and because the government put a cap. So all of that has happened. Do you think on utility scale front, India's growth in the solar sector has slowed down? Is that a view you would subscribe to?
I think we have to look at the period, and slow down or running is a very relative subject.
Okay.
I always feel that solar or renewable in this country should be run like a marathon.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and I blame the industry, we ran it like 100-meter dash, and now we are huffing and puffing. We ran it 100-meter dash when we have enough for all of us on a long-term sustainable solution. Now, so we have a dash, so everyone was very impressed with the optics of the tariffs, and then everyone started having more expectations since we run the first 100 meters so well. Now the point is, do we have a stamina? Each one of us has a stamina to run it as a marathon.
And basically meaning to continue to bid at a rate of 2.4 rupees per unit.
I'm not being judgmental on the tariff, because I think there is an optics too which played a role in this. Everything has to be looked at a context. We lay overemphasis on 2.4, renewable versus fossil fuel. I think it was nothing like that. This is a source of power. This is energy which is available in abundance in us. The industry need to be conscious of the fact that it's a long-term players. So with this optics which was going on, when some players are falling for reasons which was very apparent, we are again giving a lot of emphasis to it. I would also go by the fact that while it would be better if the tariffs are not have a ceiling at that effect, but again it is the industry which is bidding. Whom are we blaming at? The ceiling tariffs, it's again 2.4 was also bid, and no one goes in a bid saying that I will make losses. There are certain assumptions being made. Some has come true, some may not come true. Unfortunately, for some players, it has been only an Excel sheet process and a game where you are looking for flip on.
Okay.
And if you take away that portion, then I think a consolidation will happen.
And a few players will remain in the long run.
Many players will remain in the long term because it's a great business to be in. We can't take away the value of a business. This country needs energy. The GDP is growing, energy requirement will grow. India has renewable, solar and wind potentials are immensely out there. Once the storage capacities will come at an optimum rate, you have a win-win solution for everyone. There is no reason in this world that this can fail unless we fail ourselves in that process. I used to call it, if I am of a fidine nature and will go out in a place and burn myself in the process, you can't say that everyone is like that. So we will always find some fidine bids, as I jokingly called it, but I think there will be consolidation. There is always a lot of maturity in the market. On a long-term basis, it is the next IT.
Ashish, talking about the company itself, Tata Power Solar, can you brief us on what is the larger vision that you're working with, both in terms of capacity and manufacturing bases, exports, on all of these fronts? Are there any targets that we are working on? What is the larger long-term strategy? What is the kind of funding that will be required for it? What is the kind of manpower requirement for it? So from that point of view, the vision and the future of Tata Power Solar over the next, let's say, 5 years or so.
You see, the good part is that in the last 4 years, we have grown 4 times.
In terms of capacity?
In terms of revenues. I think the team has done a phenomenal job. And the best part was that when we have, and that is where the Tata way of system helps, that when we shut down certain businesses, we did not ask even a single employee to leave. They were all trained for new businesses where we were investing, and it has paid us so well in our journey from last 4 or 5 years where we have turned around the company. And I think there is no reason that why we will not be on this trajectory for next 4 or 5 years too. The business is there for us to do, as well as the EPC is concerned. On a rooftop, we have been number one. The business is growing. We have also started now having the power purchase agreements on the rooftop basis, and I think there's again there is a huge market. We are also very confident that with our awareness program to the consumers at various cities, tier 1, tier 2, the residential market will also grow. We are very clearly looking at is the agriculture pump market. With this Kusum scheme, with the government initiatives, I think it's going to grow. It's again a benefit to the farmer. It's a win-win for a farmer as well as for the distribution companies too. So in all these factors, we are going to grow, and we are very confident. We have a team which is working hard on it. You know, in an EPC business, when you are in, the important factor which comes into picture is that you are not very sure, unlike the manufacturing, that what should be the optimum team size, because your projects are generally yo-yo. All of a sudden you are working on a 2 gigawatt to 3 gigawatt, and then you have a lull period where the engineering phase comes and the execution side is relatively free. So important factor in this is that how do you optimize it? And the biggest challenge which we have overcome is shortening up the time period which we had in the past in executing these projects. What we used to do in 12 months, now we are doing it 6 months. So from the same team, they are now working on 2 projects, and that's how our revenue base is higher. So I think there is a lot which we are doing. As I told you, we have been investing in it in the past. We are not at a cusp where we again feel that if we need to invest, then what is the technology which we need to invest? And that is the area where we are working on as we speak.
So in terms of the manufacturing capacity that we have at the moment, is there an estimate of its expansion that is available that we are likely to require?
I think we are currently looking at what is the landscape. Like I said, that manufacturing is a commitment for next many years. It cannot be transactional. It cannot be you gather 100 people team and you build a project. It's an investment, and we have been in this industry, the pioneer in this industry. Most of our products are going for exports, and we get a premium out of it. So our business model is a bit different than many others. So that's what we are currently working on. And one important factor which will also play an important role and has been a part of our strategy is technology. Technology in operation maintenance, technology in execution, technology in getting the best yield for our clients, whether it is EPC or it is on our own. Similarly, the technology in manufacturing. I think that is one area where we are working hard, including digitization, and that will be a game changer or a differentiator between us and most of our competitors in times to come.
What is the kind of investment that the company is making on an annual basis at the moment? Is there an estimate available, and how do you see that growing?
I think if you look at it on a Tata Power Solar perspective, you see on Tata Power, we are a listed company, and already the MD of Tata Power has clearly articulated his vision on renewable on that part. So that is well known on the Tata Power side, where I'm a president. But on a Tata Power Solar side, the investment in the EPC business are predominantly only in building teams.
Okay.
There's nothing else in that matter. It's only building team, and that's where I was saying that our investments are going in training our people, the upscaling required, building your teams and building your partners in that process. That's what it is there. As well as manufacturing is concerned, once we zero it down to the technology and the size of it. Because today we have 300 and 400 megawatt of our manufacturing, which 3 years back when we invested, we upgraded ourselves, was a decent size. Today the same size is a much more subscale. Then we also have to look at the technology which we will invest on. Does it only require cells or modules, or do we have to have other upstream or downstream investments in that? That's where we are.
So currently we are thinking on those lines. My last question to you, Ashish, for this introduction. You talked about Kusum scheme and the solar water pump market. Can you help us understand what is the kind of business opportunity that exists if the Kusum scheme is able to meet its targets and farmers across the country are able to adopt it?
Your view or my view can be different in a standpoint that I am looking at a long-term horizon. all these businesses, including Kusum, if you look at long-term horizons, because farmers, agriculture, as well as Kusum, and a subsidy of Kusum. While there is a center subsidy, there is a state subsidy too. So there is some amount of I would say state support and a center support which is required. But if you look at the recent examples as we have come across, Maharashtra started with 10,000. Today they are coming up with a tender of 1 lakh pumps. We have seen in Gujarat. So the pilot projects of Telangana, the pilot projects in AP, the pilot projects in Maharashtra, the pilot projects in Gujarat has been a success. And my sense is that with this support which the government has recently in this budget also has embarked, and there is a budget which is being specified for it, it is going to be a phenomenal change. We have our own OEMs now. If you look at what matters here again will be the quality of the product. For a farmer, again, like I said, it's by nature renewable is an infirm power. So for a farmer, the biggest important factor for his life is that water. And I think now on a technology front, while Kusum scheme is one thing, we are developing apps where the farmer can actually know what is the power which has been generated, what it should be in the coming days. And if you ask me, I am very excited that with the technology which is available, the technology on which we are investing, and the purpose for which we are working, it's going to change the dynamics of this country very soon.
Okay. Yeah. So with those words, thanks for your time, Ashish, and I would bring this discussion to an end. Thanks.
Thank you.